Let's get your reaction, Stephen, to Man City's statement 3-0 Premier League win over the reigning champions Liverpool at the Etihad Stadium on Sunday. Goals from Erling Haaland, Nico Gonzalez, and Jeremy Doku helped the citizens cruise to victory in what was Pep Guardiola's 1000th match as a manager. Stephen, what a performance, what a win that was from Man City in such a big game. How impressed were you with City, and what were the main things that stood out for you at the Etihad?
Yeah, absolutely fitting in his thousands game in charge. We got a performance like that. As you said at the start, that was a statement win for Manchester City. Excited. Look, I left that ground yesterday feeling excited and just full of optimism for the season. Look, it's obviously not perfect. There were spells in the second half where City did lose their way a tiny bit, but that was as good a performance as I've seen City under this side. And I emphasise the this side thing for a reason because it's a vastly changed Manchester City. It's had major surgery over the past 12 to 18 months, and we're seeing signs now of a new team with new ideas forming. And I find it incredibly encouraging that City, welcome the champions, and they are the champions. And I know they've been very hit and miss this season, but they just come off beating Aston Villa and Real Madrid, two incredibly positive results. And City, I can't think of a better word than humbled them, really. City were the miles better side. One or two slightly debatable decisions here and there. But I think even when you've got your manager saying he would have changed the decision, but he still wouldn't have changed the result, it shows just how big the gap was between the two sides. I thought City were absolutely excellent. And I think Guardiola would have thoroughly enjoyed that, a fitting performance on a huge day for him.
Yeah, exactly. So a really impressive performance from City. Would you say that this was maybe City's best performance of the season so far, taking into account the opponents as well?
I mean, it's the most important, probably the best, absolutely. Because we don't know how good this Liverpool side is yet, because they're very up and down. We know what they can do. We don't know how good or how poor City made them, because only time will really tell on that front. Because if Liverpool carry on winning after this again, after two wins, maybe City were just that good. But I think it's definitely the most important. It actually reminded me a little bit. It's not as complete as this side, because that side went on to do literally 100 points. But the 17-18 season when we went away to Chelsea. And we won 1-0, and it was sort of like an announcement of that side's quality. And that side was better than this one, don't get me wrong. But that was a sort of a moment for them where you could see the confidence absolutely rocketed. It was De Bruyne long range goal against the current champions. And this reminded me of the feeling of that a little bit. I think this side's got an awful long way to go to reach those levels, because that was the Centurion season, 100 points. But you can sense that the most important thing for me, with any great side, they have to have three things. First, you have to have quality. There is, of course, quality throughout that side. There's loads of quality. You look at what Donnarumma can do in goal. You look at the ever-improving pair of fullbacks. You look at Bernardo Silva, Gonzalez, Foden, then Haaland and Doku and Shirk. It's just a really high-quality bunch of players, with loads of room for improvement. Second thing you need to have is conviction. And I think if the players believe what they're doing, that plays into it. And I think it's very obvious to me that these bunch of players, I get the sense, and maybe you do as well, Ollie, but I get the sense that they're enjoying this. They look like they're enjoying the football, and that the
Yeah.
players actually like the system. Like their little triangles are there, the give and goes, the dribbling, the running. It's really exciting, expressive football to watch as a fan, and it must feel exciting to play as a player as well, because it's very pure football. In an era where teams prioritize possession and so on. It's all out of play, position and structure and so on. It feels like Guardiola's going against the grain a little bit again. He's sort of gone against his own grain, really, because he's a little bit more chaotic, but a lot more direct, a lot faster. He's found the antidote to the antidote already, it feels like. And the final thing I think you need is hunger. You got quality, conviction, then hunger. You've got a hell of a side, and this side is obviously hungry. And I think Guardiola's words beforehand, he said after the game that he told them not to win, not to show their quality because Arsenal have dropped points. Do it because you need to just show how good you are. Because it's against Liverpool. Incredibly, it inspired choice of words in Guardiola. I think you can turn around and go, no, Arsenal drop points, go and do it. It's like, no, no, Arsenal are relevant here right now. Just show the world how good you are, full stop, because this is the current Premier League champions, and that is the current barometer. You don't know how good Arsenal are going to be this year, but Liverpool are the champions. And I think it's very obvious that this collection of players, they wanted that yesterday. Nunes, O'Reilly in particular snapping into every single challenge, the experience, the wiliness, the brilliance of Bernardo Silva at the heart of midfield, alongside Nico Gonzalez, the ever improving Nico Gonzalez. I said my glasses are smeared right now, so I look at pictures of him, he looks like Rodri, and it's like it's ridiculous what I'm seeing there. Then Phil Foden playing with a ridiculous maturity, and then what more can you say about Doku after that performance? Just ridiculous, aggressive, hunting down Liverpool. And I look at that City side yesterday, and I see all those three things, and you've got a serious team, if you've got quality, everyone pulling towards you with conviction, and you've got a bit of hunger. And I saw all those sides yesterday. So as a fan right now, I don't know what we'll achieve this season, but that is the beginnings of a serious team, and I can't wait to see how far they go.
Yeah, a lot of exciting things about that performance, and as you said, the hunger, the desire, I think the energy as well in that performance was clearly on show from City. And for the majority of the season, of course, Erling Haaland has made the headlines for City with his ridiculous form in front of goal. But I think it's fair to say that Jeremy Doku was City's standout performer against Liverpool. Not only did he score that stunning goal in the second half, but his all-round performance really was immense, wasn't it? How impressed were you by Doku in this game?
Fantastic. Doku, there's been a lot of criticism of our wingers because I think as City fans, a lot of us, um, we've seen some of the biggest highs of wide players in the Premier League. We've seen Riyad Mahrez be absolutely spectacular. We've seen the flying ridiculous, exciting pace of Sterling and Sane going forward. We've seen absolute genius, wing play from special footballers, and they have been the level that Doku, Savino, and Co have been held against. I mean, maybe it's a little bit unfair at times because they're some of the greatest in Premier League history, but ultimately they're the standards that are set by former players, so it's going to be compared to him. That performance against Liverpool from Doku was as good as anything I've ever seen from a winger at Manchester City. I don't think I'm exaggerating there. It might not be better, but it's what he achieved, the aggressiveness, like the amount of times I don't know how many times, but he felt like he'd get the ball only deep in his own half and he'd carry the ball. And within 4 or 5 seconds, he's beaten two people in the box and Liverpool's box. Like ridiculous composure, like a one man press resistant machine who was just progressing the ball so far up the pitch. And then, of course, the icing on the cake is not the fact that he won a penalty and he created multiple big chances. But then he scores a goal like that to seal the game, because that game was at 2-0. Look, we were comfortable, but Liverpool had started to find a little bit of momentum, had a chance here and there. And then he just puts it in the top corner from 20 odd yards. Something Sterling did a few times for City as well, or even Sane. So you've got this incredible dribbling ability. He's the best one-on-one dribbler in the world. And I don't think there's any question about that. Ridiculous. Maybe the best one-on-two dribbler in the world. The amount of times Liverpool doubled up on him and they couldn't get near him anyway. But that was a special performance from Jeremy Doku. And I think it is fair to say he's still a little bit inconsistent. But what I feel about Doku is that I think the highs are getting higher. And the gaps between his low performances and higher are getting smaller. Like he's still a little bit up and down because he had a slightly quieter month last month than he did prior to that. But those gaps are getting smaller, and he's like if he thought he was inconsistent in this range, he's now inconsistent in this range instead. So like he's like the quality's gone up, and wingers are inconsistent. It's absolutely fine. And I don't think we'd even notice those slight inconsistencies if we had a winger on the other side who was doing that because it was the same with Sane and Sterling. Like if one had a great game, sometimes the other would have a quiet one. You wouldn't really notice or care because the other picks up the picks it up if the other falls off a little bit. So I think maybe it's all going a bit through him, so we notice him more. But I thought Doku, was brilliant. I mean, that showed his potential, and it wasn't just the fact that he was dribbling past people as always. It was his freedom to drift centrally, to run at people, to create havoc. And I love this new thing where the wingers go a bit more central, And I know it's not exactly incredibly revolutionary, but it just works for this collection of players. And I think Doku, yeah, that was a brilliant world class performance from Jeremy Doku. And Conor Bradley will be. I don't think he slept last night. I would guess he had a very tough night. Do you ever been to a theme park and you go on a roller coaster and then you get home and you close your eyes, you see that feel, you have that feeling of where like it's like a natural phenomenon where you feel like you're still on the ride because like,
Yeah.
your sense of balance shifted. Bradley will close his eyes and he'll be like he'll be spinning from Doku just running past him, and he'll have flashbacks to that, and rightfully so because it was an absolutely monstrous performance.
Yeah, exceptional from Doku. He's shown glimpses of his talent, obviously, throughout the season and during his time at City. But I think, yeah, this performance in such a big game, his 100th appearance for Man City, must rank
Mm-hmm.
as one of his finest in Sky Blue. He
Wish
just
he'd get married every
tormented.
week, mate, because he got
Yeah,
married, didn't he, this week, and like
yeah.
baptized a few weeks
What
earlier.
time it is
Just
for him?
Yeah, just get divorced again on Tuesday and get married on Wednesday, mate. Because that was yeah, 100th game as well. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And I think Guardiola, by the way, he said afterwards, and I think he's right. He said, "I'm not sure he'll ever be a top goal scorer." And I saw a few fans maybe being a little bit down on that. I don't think he's being. I mean, I don't think he's being cruel. I don't think he ever will be a 25 goal a season player. He just doesn't strike me as that. But that doesn't define him. And what he means there, Guardiola, isn't necessarily it'll make him less of a player. Because some players just are. Like Sterling became that, and he was obviously that. But even Sane hasn't kept up those levels since he left City, and it's just very hard to score that many goals. And that's only, that's those players are basically strikers anyway. People like so Sterling's movement was old-fashioned second striker. Like he was. He could have played in a 4-4-2 era as a striker, absolutely fine. Then you look at people like Salah. Salah's just a wide forward. He cuts in and scores goals and special footballers. But Doku's an old school winger. And I don't think he has to score loads of goals to be a world class player. He has to score probably slightly more than he does, but I expect him to get to 10, 15 goals a season level. And I think that's fine. I don't think it detracts from his game in the slightest. And I think maybe Guardiola's trying to challenge him a little bit there, but I think he's probably being honest. But that doesn't detract from all the other incredible attributes that he's got.
Yeah, exactly. And as you alluded to earlier as well, the hope really now for Doku and for City is for Doku to now produce these performances on a consistent basis because he has been, accused of inconsistency during his time at City, but he made his mark at Liverpool and you hope now that he can really build on this performance now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he will. I hope he will. I think, to be honest, I think he's been building it all season. As I was
Mm.
saying, the peaks are a lot higher and the dips are a lot less, so even if he doesn't quite, have, there were a couple of times, like, a couple of years ago where if he had a bad game, he had a bit of a stinker, like passes were off, he was running the ball out of play and so on. We don't really see the stinkers. We just see the ones where it's ineffective, and that's fine. As I said, like it's usually someone should be picking up the slack on the other side, and that's probably where the attention is drawn to him. But it's like the hardest thing to do in the world, constantly beat people, and sometimes it just doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen sometimes for strikers. Sometimes it won't happen for wingers. It's fine.